Today, I am going to be showing you how to set up a Google display ad. Not only am I going to be showing you that, I'm going to be showing you common mistakes that people make when setting these up that often lead to a lot of wasted money, advanced strategies and blueprints to use to get the most optimized results. And at the end, I will even be showing you how to spy on your competitors' ads for free. So be sure to stick around for that. So what I'm going to be showing you how to do today is how to build ads just like this and show up on placements around the internet. You can see this is a Google display ad showing here on the side. You can see there's one here on the top as well. This is a random blog for how to plant a tomato. But with this, you have access to the Google Display Network, which targets all sorts of websites across the internet that you can go through and run ads just like these. So that's what I'm going to be showing you how to do in this tutorial. So the first step to creating a Google display ad is to make sure that you have a Google Ads account. If you don't already have a Google Ads account, just Google Ads and it will take you to a link that looks something like this where you can go through and start now and get signed up. It takes just a few minutes or I'll leave a link down below in the description so that you can quickly get to this page and sign up. Once you've signed up, you'll be taken to a view that looks something like this. Now, if your view doesn't look exactly like this, don't panic. Sometimes Google tests different UI and so sometimes it can look a slightly different, but the steps are going to be the exact same. So what we're going to do here in order to create our Google display ad first is we're going to come over to this top left-hand corner and we're going to click on create. And then we want to create a new campaign. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty details of running a display ad, I do want to quickly just go over the benefits of running a Google display ad in case you are wondering. The first thing is you can reach a wide audience. Basically, Google Display Network covers, I think, like 95% of the internet. So you can reach a ton of people using this method. You have precise targeting options. I'm going to show you and go in depth with all those targeting options that you can do and the different ways that you can target people. It is a very cost-effective way to get exposure to a lot of people. You'll see that you can get clicks pretty cheap with a display network versus like a search campaign or even social media campaigns where clicks can be in the dollars. With display ads, you can get clicks in the cents, which is really nice. There is a high visual impact, which is nice. So instead of writing just normal text ads, you can actually have something that has a visual appeal and you can catch people's eyes. It's great for brand awareness, and you do have remarketing opportunities, which we'll be touching on a little bit, and then flexible ad formats and real-time performance tracking inside of Google Ads. So a lot of things to like about display ads. There are some negatives to them as well that we'll be kind of covering here, but I just wanted to let you know kind of the benefits of running a Google display campaign. So now let's come back over here, and this is where we're going to choose our objective. Now this is going to vary depending on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're running these display ads for just like brand awareness or for traffic to your website, then chances are you're going to want to either do web traffic or awareness here. If you are actually wanting to use these display ads to drive sales or leads, which I imagine a lot of you will be, you'll want to choose either the sales or leads objective. Now, depending on which one you choose, there will be slight variations in this setup, but really it will all be very similar. So don't worry. Don't worry about too much which one you do choose. I'm going to go with the website traffic here for this specific one. So we're going to choose website traffic, and then it's going to ask for a conversion action. If you have a conversion action set up, this is where you can go through and choose this. If you don't have one, then you can just hit continue here. Then it's going to ask for the campaign type. Now, this is important that you do choose display here. This is to make sure that we're actually showing the display ads. Now, you can run technically display ads through the Performance Max or Demand Gen campaigns as well, but if you specifically want to run display ads, you're going to want to choose display, and that's what we're going to be focusing on for this tutorial. Then here you can go through and add your website if you wanted to. So we're just going to do house to home DIY. We're going to be creating an ad for fireplace, or for fireplaces, basically the top fireplaces. So we're going to hit continue here. And then the campaign name. Now this is for the campaign name. I like to name this prospecting and remarketing. To give you an idea on how I like to structure my campaigns, we're going to come over here. We're going to be coming to this sheet a lot inside of here. But how I like to structure my display campaigns is I like to have a display prospecting campaign. So this is people who have never heard of your brand before. They're net new people. And I like to create 3 different audiences that we'll be talking about in this tutorial. And then I like to have a campaign for remarketing. We're mostly going to be focusing on the display prospecting element. So what I personally like to name this campaign is display prospecting. Now you can name it whatever you want, but that's how I like to organize my campaigns. Prospecting, and then we're going to hit continue here. And then we're going to hit start new. Then now it's going to ask for our location. So we can go through and choose location targeting. For me, I want to target the United States. If you wanted to choose a different location, you can click in here and then even do search for like a specific place. Say you wanted to target only Texas. You could target anybody in Texas or exclude people in Texas. Say that I wanted to target people in everybody in the United States except for people in, let's say, California for whatever reason. You can go through and exclude so that your ads aren't showing inside of California. Now, if you wanted to do more of an advanced like radius targeting, say that you're like a local business and you wanted to target 15 miles around your business or your restaurant, what you could do is you could come over here to advanced search. You could do radius, and then you could say, okay, I want to do 15 miles around Las Vegas. So that we're going to do all 15 miles around the Las Vegas area, and then we can do save here. And then if we were going to do that, we would want to make sure that we excluded or gotten rid of that exclusion for California. But for us, we're going to do United States. Now it's important here especially for a display campaign. This is one of the common mistakes that gets people to spend a lot of money or waste a lot of money, is you want to make sure that you're targeting people in or regularly in your included location. If you choose this option, it means that your ads could show outside of your target location and can waste your ad spend. So we're going to do people in or regularly in your locations. For your languages, I'm going to leave this as English. You of course can change this to whatever your target language is. Then we want to make sure that we click on this little more settings here. This is one of the another tricky ways that Google gets you to kind of waste some more money possibly. Here you can see the optimized rotation. I like to keep this on optimized best performing one, just the default there. And then you can go through and do an ad schedule. So if you wanted your ads to show only during business hours or only on weekends or only on weekdays, you could go through and make those adjustments here and set up ad schedules for that specific one. Other things that you can do here is the content exclusions. So this is really important, especially if you're working with a brand that can be like very sensitive and doesn't want to show up for certain things or next to certain things. Say that you're going to a blog that kind of talks about sketchy stuff. You don't want your ads showing up next to those things and like almost like you're promoting something that could be one of these like specific categories. So like tragic or conflict, sensitive local social issues, any of these ones, if your brand is something that doesn't want to show up or have your display ads show up on content related to those, you'll want to go through and make sure that you opt out of these. So checking the boxes, making sure that your brand does not show up on those. So you have content labels, you have sensitive content, and then you have content types. So if you wanted to, you could also make sure that you could just do like general labels and you could opt out of those. But most of the time I just check these middle boxes here to make sure that none of my ads are showing up things in the sensitive content boxes. So now we're going to hit next here. And then it is going to ask for a budget. Now, when it comes to display ads, you could honestly get away with reaching quite a large amount of people for as little as $5 a day. Typically, how I like to organize my campaigns is 80% going to the search campaign and then 20% going to like a remarketing or to display campaigns. So take that for what it's worth. So if you have a $100 budget, I would put $80 towards search campaigns and then the other $20 to prospecting or display campaigns. For here, we're just going to put this at $5 a day. And then it's going to ask for our bidding strategy. Now, the bidding strategy is going to depend on a couple of different things, and it's always a case-by-case situation. But here, when asked what you want to focus on, you can go through and choose one of these. I would recommend either conversions or clicks, or if you want just purely brand awareness, you could do viewable impressions. You'll notice that Google tries to force you to optimize towards conversion value, or viewable impressions. If you wanted more options, you could click down here and then select a specific bidding type. Now, this is one of those situations where because I chose the traffic objective, it's going to show all these here. But you can see I can go through and do a manual CPC. And when I'm running a brand new display campaign that doesn't have any data, the account is basically brand new, I will start off with a manual cost per click campaign. If you're running a display campaign that already has conversion data inside of it, then I would probably recommend running with a target CPA for your account. So it just kind of depends on how much data your account has. If you're starting brand new, I would probably go with a manual CPC. And then next it's going to ask us for the cost per click bid that we want to put in. And you can see here, based on your targeting, we haven't set the targeting yet, but Google is telling us that we can get clicks for around 1 to 2 cents. So you can get cheap clicks pretty cheap. What I'm going to start off with is actually just 5 cents. That's how, or not $5, 5 cents. And once the campaign starts running, and if I don't see impressions or something coming through, if my account isn't getting impressions from the display campaign, then I'll go through and I'll ramp this up a little bit. So keep that in mind. I like to keep it pretty much as low as possible and then slowly make the adjustments as I see the data come in. So we're going to hit next here. And then this is where it's going to we're actually going to get into the targeting for our specific campaigns. And you can see here that Google has this option for optimized targeting. So you could basically just hit next and Google will do its optimized targeting. I wouldn't recommend going this route. This is a good way to waste a lot of money. What I would recommend doing is actually adding targeting. So we're gonna come over here, we're gonna go add targeting, and you can see there are lots of different ways that you can target people on the display network. We talked about this before, but there's a ton of ways to target people, which is really nice. So you can see here you have audience segments, demographics, keywords, topics, and even placements. And when you click into each of these, you can see it will give you drop-down menus on how to target those people. So you see you have the audience segments, or we can go back here and then add targeting. You can do like the demographics. It will add each one of those inside of there. You can hit done here and it will just clear it. So you can see we're not targeting any segments there, but once you click it, it will add up to this section right here. Now, when it comes to this targeting, like I said, there's lots of things that you can do, but I've done lots of display campaigns, and this is what I generally like to do. Now, this doesn't mean that this is what you have to do, but this is the setup that I like to run and I find gets the best results. When we come back over here to kind of our setup, we have our display prospecting campaign. I like to target 3 different types of audiences. The first one is my top keywords. So these are taking the top keywords of the things that people will be searching for that is related to my product and creating what's called a custom audience. The next one is a competitor's website. So I go in and I put in all of my competitors' websites and say target anybody who has hit any of my competitors' websites. And the third one is an interest-based audience. So I want to show you how to create all of those and kind of this format here. And don't worry, if you wanted a link to this down below, that we're going to be covering even more on this sheet. But if you wanted a link to this template, I'll leave this link down below so that you can have access to this whenever you want, or just take screenshots of this while I'm going through and doing it. But we're going to start with this top keywords. I'm going to show you how to go through and create that for your audience. So we're going to come over here. We're in the audience segments. We're going to click on browse. And then what you want to do is come over here to custom audiences. Click on custom audiences and then click on custom here. And then this is going to ask you for the segment name. We're going to call this top keywords. And then what we want to do for this first bucket here for the top keywords is we want to type in the keywords that are related to our product or service. For this one, I have a blog post that I want to send people to that talks about the top electric fireplaces. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to type in keywords related to that. So I'm going to type in best. And then you notice once you type in a couple different things, it will start giving you some recommendations as well that you can go through and add inside of there. Okay, and you can see here I now have 8 keywords that I've gone through and put in. I would recommend a minimum of 5. Generally, like best case scenario, probably anywhere from 10 to 25. Like a 25 would be a good place to have 25 keywords inside of here. And you can see what this is going to do is we are going to enter keywords describing your ideal customer interest or product and services they're actively researching to buy. Your ads will reach people with those interests or purchase intentions based on your campaign settings. So this is going to create an audience for anybody who is going through and has these kind of purchase intentions. So we're going to hit save here. And then now we have this audience created with the top keywords. And you can see here now Google is going to give me an updated average CPC and clicks impressions. This is just an estimate, so keep that in mind. But now we kind of get an idea of how many clicks we can get for our $5 budget. And you can see this optimized targeting is currently on. Now, here's what I recommend about the optimized targeting. If you are having trouble spending your budget, turn this on. If you have a little limited budget, like you're spending $5 a day or so, I would recommend turning this off, because what this is, the optimized targeting is going to do is it's going to expand out your audience for people that Google thinks is likely to convert. But at the end of the day, I like to have more control on who's seeing the ads. So I like to turn this off if I have a limited budget. So we're going to go through and turn that off. And you can see it's going to change those numbers just a little bit, but nothing too drastic. Then you can see we have these other targeting options here. But as I mentioned, I want to test different audiences to see which one performs best. That's why I like doing this setup here. So we're just going to stick with the top keywords, and then we're going to come back and create a separate ad group for competitor websites and then interest-based targeting as well. So we're just going to hit next here. We have our top keywords audience selected. We're going to hit next. And now we get into the actual ad creation part of the display ads. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but there are 2 different display ads that Google offers now. And a lot of people think of the older version of display ads when they're creating these. So I want to quickly walk through the difference and show you how you can set up either or which one might be better for you. Because you can see here right now with this in process, it says the responsive display ads, and then I can go through and add images, a bunch of headlines and things like that. Or I can change this over to upload display ads. And if you see, if I leave this, then it gives me a different kind of setup where I just go through and I upload some kind of banner ads. So Let's go through the difference on these two so you can kind of understand. Okay, so when it comes to the difference between display ads and responsive display ads, you can see there's quite a bit of difference, and I kind of highlighted the green things as pros and the red things in cons. You can see creative control. Display ads give you full creative control, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. The responsive display ads give you limited control. Branding consistency, display ads give you more consistent. For responsive, they give you less inconsistency. And you can see there's a lot of different kind of pros and cons with each one of them. The responsive gives you like a greater reach, and then if we're A/B testing, it makes A/B testing easier. Now, what it boils down to is the display ads are best for anybody who wants more control over their brand and the design experience. The responsive display ads are best for advertisers seeking wide reach, time efficiency, and performance optimization. So depending on which one of these you value more, you're going to want to go with one or the other. To be honest with you, most of the time, probably 90% of the time, I go with a responsive display ad. They perform better, they are easier to set up, they're faster to set up, and A/B testing is quicker. But I did want to show you these options for each one of these in case you wanted to go that route. So if you were going to go with the display ads route, what you could do is you could just come over here, you would add your final URL, and then all you would need to do is go through and upload the files, the actual images that you've gone through and created. If you are curious about the sizes for the display ads, is you would come over here and the sheet, I have it. You see these are all the display ad sizes that you can do. So you go through and create all of these different sizes, or I circled the ones in green here as like the most commonly used ones. So you'd want to go through and create display ads for each one of these sizes. So 1, 2, 3, there's 5 of them there. Now, as far as how to do that, let me show you quickly a couple different ways that you can do that. Now, I'll give you 2 options here. The first one is Canva. And the nice thing about Canva, it is free unless you have like the pro version that gives you a little bit more designs. But what you could do is come over here to create design, and then you could just do a custom size. Come back over to our little sheet here. So we want a 300 by 250. Come back over here and then do 300 by 250. And then you can go through and create design. And then inside of Canva, you can see there it gives you like a couple of different designs here. What I would do is just like search for one that has like a call to action or something. You can see you can go through and do this. It'll allow you to drag and drop it. Make sure that you have a nice call to action here. This is one of the things that's going to be different with a responsive display ad versus the display ad. With the display ad, you want to make sure that you have like a CTA on the page. With responsive, it's going to be a little bit different, and I'll show you why here in a minute. But you can see you can go through and create those. What's kind of a pain about this is then you got to go through and create all of these different ad sizes, or at least these 5 that are circled, depending on how far of a reach you want to get. Or another tool that you can use that is really good, I'm not going to kind of demonstrate it here, but a Create-a-P is actually kind of made specifically for this. You can see what's nice about this is you can make one display ad, and then it will go through and automatically resize those for you. So it's a little bit more pricey. Like the pricing on this is I think like $30 a month. Yeah, $36 a month. You can do a 7-day free trial. So that's just another option if you wanted to create those display ads. Now, if you're going to go the responsive display ad route, you don't need to necessarily worry about this as much, and I'll show you exactly why. So we're going to come back over here to our display ads. And we're actually going to just change back over to the responsive display ads and walk through this process. So the first thing is we want to make sure that this says HTTPS here. You need to go through and give your business a name. And then here, this is where it gets a lot different from the display ads. Here, with the responsive, what we can do is we can add up to 15 images, and Google will automatically go through and resize those images and A/B test them basically in real time so that they can find out which one works best. So if we click here and add images, you can see there are a few different ways that you can actually add the images. So you can either do suggested, so based on the website that you provided, or based on free stock images. You can go to your asset library where it has all the current assets that you already have. You can go to your websites and type in like an Instagram account and it will pull those images. Or the most common is just to like upload them directly from your computer. Or you can go through and use free stock images. So if I wanted to use stock images, what I could do is I could type in like electric fireplace here. And then you can see it starts to pull some of these images. So I can go through and grab some of these free stock images. You can see there is the Shutterstock image right here. I'm going to go through and select some of these real quick. So let's just say I selected these 2 here. And once I select it, you can see it's asking for the different aspect ratios. So when it comes to running a responsive display ad, you do need to have 3 different sizes, which is nice. You only need 3 instead of the like 20 that display ads have. As far as the sizes that you need, if we come back over here again, these are the responsive display ads. You need a landscape image, 1200 by 628, a square image, 1200 by 1200, and a portrait, 900 by 1600. And what's nice nice with the responsive display ads, when you come back over here, you can see you can go through and kind of crop the image to make sure that it's showing what you want. So you can have it be right there, and then I could select this other design if I wanted to. You can see right now this has the Shutterstock watermark on it, but you can see the watermark will not appear when you actually run your ad, which is nice. So if you like the stock images, this is a very quick way to get some display ads up and running. Or if you wanted to go through and design some of your own, what I would do is I would do the same thing with the display ads here, as I would come over to Canva, and then I would type in the specific sizes that we need, so the 1200 by 600, and then you can go through and kind of create your own display ad. But before you go through and create your responsive display ad, it is important to know the common mistakes that people make when creating these display ads and the things that Google recommends you not to do. So if you come back over here to this sheet and then you click on this little button right here, like responsive display ads best practices, it will take you to a link here where it has the support document for not only like the image guidelines, but also there's some guidelines here for responsive display ads that I think people often overlook and people don't realize are an actual thing. So let's look at these real quick. So the first thing is obviously make sure you're using high quality photos, no blurs, color inverted, excessive filters, no outlines or borders. So they don't want you to have outlines or borders inside of there. And then it also makes sure they don't want you to use like inverted or excess color filters on those. Now, other common things is overlaid logos. So when you are running a responsive display ad, it's important that you don't put the logo on the actual image. The reason for that is because when we come over here, you'll notice, we'll save this for the time being. When you come over here, Google's going to ask for your actual logo, and Google will dynamically insert that logo in different spots of the ad to make sure it's showing up in the right spot. So you don't want to go through and add a logo. And along the same lines, you don't want to go through and add a lot of text to your actual ad. Now, this is one that I disagree with a little bit. I've tested this. Google doesn't like a ton of text, but I still recommend having a little bit of text on the ad sometimes. The reason for this is because we're going to go through and add headlines to the image, and you'll see that Google will automatically put those headlines in different spots. So generally, they recommend just the image, no text inside of there, but sometimes if you really wanted to, you can go through and add it in there in certain cases. Another thing is we don't add the CTA button. So unlike with the normal display ads where you kind of have like a big old join now CTA, we don't add that with the responsive display ad because it will do it for us. And as I'm talking about this, I'm realizing it's probably just easier if I show you what I mean. So when we come over here to the actual Google, to the Google responsive ad, we're going to click on logo. We're going to add our logo. We're going to save that. And then we're going to come over here and then videos. We're not going to add a video to this. We want this to be just display ads, so we're not going to add a video. And then here is where you can go through and add your headlines, your long headlines, and your description. So I'm going to go through and add a headline, 2 headlines here that are 30 characters or less, long headline, and then a couple of descriptions. We'll speed that up. Okay, so you can see here, I've now gone through and I've added like 15 images here. You don't have to add 15. I would recommend adding as many as you can. I would do at least 3 images on here. And then I went through and added my headlines, my longer headline, and then the description. And you can see now it's starting to show us what the ads will actually look like. So let me get myself out of the way here. And if you wanted to view what all these ads look like, what I would recommend is right here, there's this little preview ad. If you click on that, it will open up basically all the different combinations that your ad could show. And you can see it's going to create a lot of different combinations here. And this is on the display network, Gmail, and then YouTube. You can go through and search all of those. So you can go and scroll and see what these will actually look like. So this is why we didn't want to go through and put a call to action on the buttons or put text, because you can see there are call to actions on the bottom of a lot of these, like open. You can see right now it's open, but I'm going to go through and change that here in a minute. But there's all these different CTAs, and you can see it shows up in a lot of different formats. Now, some of these formats, like you can see, are not great. Like I don't love these kind of things, and that's one of the downside of using the responsive display ads. But most of the placements are going to be really nice. Like they're going to look like more like these and aren't going to be a problem. But just keep that in mind when you are running these, that you like the look of all of these different views here. So that's what they look like on the display network. You can get an idea of what they look like in Gmail here as well, and then on like YouTube on their display ads as well, you can get an idea of what they look like there. So now, and then also on computer, you can go through and look at that. So you can switch between mobile and desktop. You can get an idea of what they look like. So now we're going to exit out. If you needed to get approval for these, you can share the preview and send them to somebody. You can see here it's going to give us an ad strength. Right now we are at good. You can see the images look good, and and then it says video is checked. We don't even have a video running, which is funny. And that tells you just how kind of unreliable this is. I would just recommend getting this to at least average or better. To be honest, it really doesn't matter that much as long as you think the ad looks good and it's going to convert. That's what I would go with, but try to get it to average or better. Excellent is okay, but you can see it wants us to add more headlines and descriptions, but we're not going to do that for this example. Now, a couple of other common mistakes that people make that are going to waste you money as well is right here. You want to click on this additional formats that Google purposely kind of hides. And we want to make sure that we opt out of a couple of things. So this is okay. Use assets enhance, let Google enhance your assets and optimize your ad layout. Or if you wanted more control, you could opt out of this. This is the big one that you may want to make sure that you opt out of is this is use auto-generated video. Google will take your images that you gave them and then automatically create a video that can show across the web. Now, in my experience, the videos do not look good. You have no idea what they look like and they just don't convert. So I would recommend unchecking this. If you have a video placement here, then it will automatically uncheck this for you, or they won't use that video. You say that your ads won't use, if you've already added your own video, they won't use them. But if you don't have a video in that slot, make sure you uncheck that. And then here, use native formats. I think this is fine. I leave this one included there. Then here on the more options, this is where you can change the call to action. You can see that mine on those ads was showing like open. It was like an automatic call to action. I would rather have this be something like read now or see more, something along those lines. It's something that I have a little bit more control over. You could leave it on automated, but for me, I am going to do, we're going to do see more on this one. So now when I scroll back up, you can see that the call to action is going to change over to reflect that. We have the see more on there. So now our ad is looking good. We've gone through and checked the previews. We can go through and hit next here. And then this is just going to be a full review to make sure that all the settings look okay. So be sure you go through and do that. It looks like we have some sort of error on the ad. If this happens, just click on fix now. And then what is it saying here? We need to, the error with your ad assets. Let's review this. And then exceed the number of stock images. So I guess I have too many stock images. So we're gonna go through and exit out of those. It didn't like me using those stock images, I guess, for whatever reason. So we're going to save that there. And then now we can come back over and hit next. And then now we should get rid of that warning. And you can see now we can go through and publish this campaign. So we have our campaign name. And then what I like to do is I like to change this ad group name to top keywords to reflect which audiences we are going to be targeting. So you can see here the top keywords based on the flow that we are wanting to do here with the top keyword. So we're going to click on that, and then we're going to come back over here to Google, and we're going to hit publish. Now, once we hit publish, if you only wanted to target that one audience, then you are pretty much good to go. I do want to show you what to do after your ads are running and how to optimize them. This is a full display ads tutorial, but if you wanted to set up this actual flow here and test audiences with like your competition, your competitor websites and interest-based, I want to show you how to do that as well real quick. So once our campaign is running, or once our campaign is launched, you can see it will go through a review. It takes 1 to 2 days, and then it will start going live. If you wanted to look at your campaign, there's a couple different ways you can get there. You can either click here to campaigns, or I like to click just right in this top left-hand corner, hit all campaigns, and then come over here to campaigns, and then you'll see the current campaigns that you're running, or your brand new display prospecting campaign inside of here, the current budget. If you wanted to create a new ad group inside of there, we want to click inside of the display prospecting. You can see we are now at the ad group level here. And what we want to do is click this little blue plus button to create a new ad group. We click on create new ad group. And it will take us to this view where we can go through and add the targeting. So you want to do the same bid that you were doing on the other one to make all things even. And then here's where we can go through and add the targeting. Now, if I was to do the competitor targeting people who have visited my competitors' websites, what I would do is I would come over here to the audience segments once again, and then we click on browse. We would come down here to custom segments. And then this time, instead of top keywords, we would click custom audiences. And then here we would name this competitor. We would name this competitors' websites. And then instead of choosing one of these two options, what we want to do is click on this one right here, the people who browse types of websites. Click on that, make sure that we exit out of this part. And we want to go through and target people who have visited any of our competitors' websites. So I'm going to go through and find some electric fireplace blogs here. We're going to put those in. Okay, so I went and found 5 different competitors. Once you have the URL, you just come over here and you paste that in. You can see it goes through and adds that there. For this, generally, I like to have 5 to 10 websites that we are using to create a similar audience to. So you can see people who browse websites similar to. So I don't want to mislead you. You're not exactly targeting people who have hit those websites, but chances are it's people who are similar to those people, or actually people who have hit those websites, but it will be people similar to browsing those specific websites, which is a really, really targeted audience to go with. So we're going to now go through and save that audience. And then once we've done that, then we can go through and we're going to turn off the optimized targeting here once again. And then it's back to the same steps that we went to with the other ad, where we just went through and created the ad and then published that. Now, if you wanted to also go through and do an interest-based targeting audience, you'd go through the same steps, go through back in and duplicate that campaign. And then now the third ad group that we would do is just an interest-based. And for that one, what you would do, you would do the audience segment. You click on that, and then, but instead of browse, you just come over here to search. And then you can see right now, Google already has this audience for like fireplaces. But in my case, what I could do is I could just type in fireplace or whatever the keyword is related to your specific audience and see if there's a current in-market audience for that already. So these are people that have identified that they are in the market for a fireplace. Now, they aren't in the market for an electric fireplace. So that's a little bit of a downside for using these kind of things. It's not as targeted, but still, I like to go through and test that. If you're only wanting to run 2 audiences, I would recommend just running these 2. And then this one is just kind of a third one if you can find a good interest-based targeting to run with. So keep that in mind for whatever it is worth. Of course, I do want to quickly go over these other targeting options in case you did want to do that. You can also target by demographics. So you can target by gender, age, parental status, household income, or you can also target by keywords here, topics, like specific topics, which we just went through, or through the placements as well. So like on specific YouTube channels, websites, different things like that. There's all sorts of different ways to target, and you can spend a lot of time just inside of here, but these are the 3 that I generally like to go with. So now we've covered how to actually go through and set up a display ads campaign, but that is only half of the equation. I want to make sure that you are equipped with the tools necessary to now manage that campaign after it goes live, and things that you should look for and optimizations that you can do to the campaign once it's been launched. So I want to jump into a couple of real accounts here and show you data to kind of give you an idea of what this looks like after they've been running. So you can see here, I'm going to jump into 2 accounts. So this first one, you can see we have the display prospecting here, and then we have the retargeting. And right now, based on the budget, you can see we are spending very little on display campaigns. This is spending $3 here and $5 here. Right now, this is like a B2B software. And then you have other accounts where, like this one, for example, where we're spending $150 a day on the display campaigns because it is bringing in a lot of leads. Now, when we come back over to this campaign, you can see when we click inside of this display prospecting, this is what the campaign will end up looking like when you go through and build this. You see we have the ad groups here for high intent keywords, and then the competitor websites. And then inside of here, we have the responsive display ads. Now, one of the first things that you're going to want to do when data starts coming in is analyze which placements you are showing up for and excluding those placements if there are bad placements. And I'll show you what I mean. So inside of this campaign view, what we're going to do is we're going to click on Insights and Reports right here, and we're going to click on when and where ads showed. Once you click on that, then you can start to see what time of day your ad showed. So this is helpful if you wanted to see like the hour and the day and collect the data and maybe dissect it from there. But what we want to look for is where ads show. And you can see in this case, a lot of our ads are showing, we have the YouTube retargeting campaign. So a lot of them are showing up on YouTube, but I want to make sure that we're specifically in our display campaign. So I'm going to go through and select our specific campaign here. We're going to select our display prospecting. And then this is going to show all of the placements that we are currently showing up for. Now, this can be a little bit tricky because there are lots of placements on the display network, but basically what you're going to be looking for is any kind of websites that just look spammy, or a lot of these mobile games a lot of times will just be not very good placements. So if you go through and you find a placement, or you're looking at the data over here and you notice that you spend hundreds of dollars on something, but it hasn't converted, what you can do is you can click on this, and then you can click on edit, and then from here you can exclude that placement from your ad, from your campaign. What this is going to do is it's going to make sure going forward that your display ad doesn't show on that placement. Now, if you talk to anybody who manages display ad campaigns, they'll tell you that this is a lot of management. So you want to go and check this pretty often. If you want to get a head start on negative placements, I've been doing this for a long time. So I have compiled this list of over like 30,000 negative placements. So if you wanted to go through and add those to your campaigns before you even begin them, it's probably a good idea. So what you can do is like copy some of these placements, for example, and then come over to here to Google, and then we're going to click on this little drop down right here. There's the audiences keywords. Click on content, From there, you're going to scroll down and hit edit exclusions. I know there's a lot of like hidden things here, campaign, and then we want to do placements. And then here you want to use a placement exclusion list, or sorry, not a placement exclusion, add multiple. And then in here, just enter all of those keywords or enter all those websites. It will only let you do like 1,000 at a time. So keep that in mind. Then you can go through and add placements there, and then simply save that. And then that will add those negative placements to your negative placements. So I'll leave a link to this down below if you wanted to get access to that. It's not something you have to do, but it is a good way to get ahead of some of these bad placements on the display network. Another important thing to know how to do is how to actually A/B test different settings for your display ads. So now we're back inside the account that we built, the fireplace prospecting one. You can see here we have our prospecting campaign, and it's actually started to spend. You can see we've gotten 66 clicks, and we have spent, let me move my head here, and we have spent our $5 budget. We haven't gotten any conversions from it, and our average cost per click has been 8 cents. So that's how you can go through and analyze the data. If you wanted to go through, you could add more columns here, so you could modify columns, and you could pull in any kind of data inside of here. So say that I also wanted to see something like the performance here. Say I wanted to see the engagement or the click-through rate. I can click that. It will add it to this end column, and then I can see the click-through rate right now is 1.33. But what I want to talk about is how to run what's called an experiment. This is if you wanted to test a different headline, a different image, different bidding strategy, anything that you wanted to test or A/B test. This is the best way to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to click inside of our campaign here. And then from here, we can go through and run what's called an experiment. So we're going to click on this right here, experiments. And then inside of this experiments, you can see you have all experiments, custom experiments, or performance max. This is where it will show all the current experiments that are running if you have any inside of your account, but we just want to click new experiment here. And we want to do a custom experiment. And then of course, we want to choose the campaign type display, hit continue. And then from here, we want to give this a name. So for this example, let's say that I wanted to test a different bidding strategy. So I can type in bidding strategy. And let's say that I wanted to do a conversion value or a conversion, max conversion. So bidding, max conversion. Then you can go through and give this a description if you wanted to, and then the base campaign. So this is where we want to select our display prospecting campaign here. And then we have the trial campaign there, and we're gonna hit save. And then what it's going to do is it's a little bit confusing. I don't love this setup, but you can see up here, this indicates that we are currently in a test. So you see this setup, make changes, and then schedule. So we are now inside of our campaign, and any changes that we make is going to apply to our B variant. So if I wanted to go through and change the bidding strategy for this, I can go over here to settings, campaign, and then here is where you click the settings. It's confusing. The settings are up here, but here's the campaign settings. If I click on that, then I can go through and change any one of these settings and run it in a split test, basically where Google will send 50% of the traffic, or you can define the amount of traffic that you want to send to this test. So let's say instead of a manual CPC, I wanted to change the bidding strategy and I wanted to do a conversion based bidding strategy, max conversion, and then I hit save here. And that did not save it. So we want to change this automatically maximize conversions and then set a target CPA. And let's say that I wanted to get conversions for $4 in this case. Then you can see it's recommended me for $3.80. So I'm going to set that at $4, just a little bit higher than what it is recommending right now, because I want to make sure it is converting, and then interactions here, and then we can save. And like I said, you can test all sorts of different things. I'm not going to run through all the different tests that you could do. I recommend testing one variable at a time. So here you could go, then once you've made that change, then you can go through and schedule this test. But before you do that, I just want to show you some other things that you could test if you wanted to. For example, you could come into here and you can come into the audiences. You can click on the audiences, and then inside of the audiences, you could go through and test like a new audience. So say you wanted to test different keywords, say you wanted to test a different interest-based targeting, you could test the optimized targeting, having that on. Or if you wanted to, you can click again into the ad level, and then of course go through and change into the images, into the headlines, and run that as an A/B test. Like I said, I recommend doing one of these tests at a time. So for this example, I went through and changed the bidding strategy, and that's what I want to test. So then I can come over here and hit schedule. And then it's going to ask me to select a metric that I want to use to determine what is the winner. So here I want it to be the conversions, and I want the conversions to increase. You can set a secondary metric if you want to, but generally I just use one. You'll still be able to see all the metrics for these campaigns, but conversions is the one that I generally recommend going for, or click-through rate for this example. Next, you can set the experiment split. We want it 50-50, 50 going to our trial campaign, 50 going to our base campaign. We can set the start date on this, the duration, and the end duration, and then enable sync. I always recommend recommend enabling sync. What this does is if you change anything on your base campaign, it will automatically change to the trial campaign. That way you aren't changing up the variables on there. And then once that's all done, you can then go through and hit create experiment. That will then show the experiment running inside of here. And then when you come over to your campaigns, you'll notice that you have this little icon right here, and this is the B variant. So it says that the budget is $5 a day, $5 a day. Know that this is $5 a day split between those two. So this one will spend $250 a day, and this one will spend $250 a day, give or take, basically. So don't worry, that's not going to be double charging you on any of those. And then at whatever time you did want to go through and end this test, you can just go through and pause that right there. Now, when you're creating ads or running experiments, it is always helpful to have an idea on what your competition is running, because if you understand what they're running, chances are it might be something that is working. So I want to show you a quick, easy, and free way that you now can go through and actually spy on your competitors if you wanted to do that. So in order to spy on your competitors' display ads, what we're going to do is we're going to come over to Google, and you're going to type in ads transparency, Google ads transparency. It will take you to a link that looks something like this. And then inside of here, this is Google's way of being transparent with their ads, is they actually let you look up any advertiser that's been verified to see their ads. So for example, if we come over here and click in Nike, you'll see this is a little bit of a trick here, because you can see here Nike, it says that they're only running 19 ads. And then when we look at some of these other ones, it doesn't make any sense, because it's like Nike is only running 6 ads. That doesn't make any sense. But if you scroll down here, you'll see Nike Inc. is running 40K ads. So that's the one that we want. And I realize I'm in the way here. And that is the one that we want. You can see here Nike 6, but then down here Nike Inc. is the one that is verified. So we want, when you look these up, know that the business may have like Nike versus Nike Inc. or whatever your competitor may be. Look for the different variants that it's showing. So we're going to click on this, and then what we're going to do is from here, you can see it's showing all the ad formats. So it's not only showing us display ads, but it's also showing us the search ads, which is nice if you wanted to go through and spy on their search ads as well. But for this one, we're specifically focused on the display ads. So we can come over here to the ad format and then click on images only. And then now we can see all of the ads that Nike is currently running, all the different display ads that they are running. Now, another way that you can also get to this same page, if for whatever reason you can't find their like official business name, is if you Google the brand, let's say Nike for this example, and you find an ad of theirs. We're not going to click on the ad. I don't recommend just like going and click on your competitor's ads, but you can click on these 3 little dots right here. And if you click on this, it's going to open up this little view right here. This does not charge them for the click. I'm not telling you to go through and just click on your competitor's ads, but what you can do is click on that, and then you can view see more ads. And then that will also take you to this view right here. So for whatever reason you're having a hard time figuring out what they're named inside of here, this will also take you to the exact same place. So you now understand how to go through and build your display prospecting campaign. If you wanted to actually now go through and create a display remarketing campaign, I have a full tutorial on display remarketing campaign. It's a whole other video because it's a whole other topic. You can check that out right here, and I will see you in the next video.